beer sound.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to footage of a crow humping a tree. If you are watching on YouTube, and if you are not watching on YouTube, then you can hear that thump, 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 because it is recording audio, and that thump, 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 thump is crow humping a tree. And he's away from the mic at the moment, so when he comes back, it's going to be hilarious, I hope. All right, my name is Sean Michael Patrick Thompson, as always, your host of Drink to the Past, the only podcast where the co-host drinks eggnog in October while reminding you to subscribe and share our content. I am joined by, actually, a lot of people. I don't even know all of them.
Like a shitload of people.
Yeah, so, of course, we have my ubiquitous co-host, Christopher, ubiquitous co-host, Audette.
Hi, I'm Chris. Please go vote Audette.
Yeah, do that.
That was it, Sean.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say.
All right. I'm going to vote for the fires to stop in Colorado.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. I would prefer that.
I think not being on fire would be a better state of state.
Yes. Being not on fire is better than being on fire.
Yeah. So,
no matter what those idiots at work say.
Yeah. So remember that when you're at the polls. Vote against fire.
Yeah, no
Don't
fire.
forget to vote early if you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah,
Right.
please do vote early.
And I am joined by these mysterious people. Perseus, introduce yourself.
Hey, howdy. My name's Perseus. Voice of Perseus on pretty much all social medias, YouTube, Twitter, that's pretty much it. Voice actor extraordinaire, comedian extraordinaire, totally knows what he's doing all the time.
I had an idea what I was doing once. And we also have Snake's Box. I don't know if that's his real name. I bet that's his real name.
That is my legal name. It
Yes,
says it on my birth
Snake's
certificate. Yeah.
I can confirm I was there when he got birthed.
Yeah, he
And
was
not
7.
because I'm his dad. Well, hold on, not because I'm his dad.
He is my dad.
I'm not
Because
his
you were his
dad.
mom?
I'm not convinced.
You're
His
giving
dad
no
and his
father.
mom?
That's impressive. Also,
You know-
what species are you?
I'm legally not allowed to tell you.
Oh, okay.
If I did,
Legally
I
not
would
allowed to
have to
tell
shoot
you
you.
is a really dumb name for a species.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
The hell did I just walk back into?
Hi, Crow. We started the podcast without you in hopes of hilarity.
Gee, thanks.
We just watched you hump that tree for days. It was
Yeah.
So did you have like a button held down for that, or what the hell was it?
No, I angled my joystick in the direction, and then I set my bottle of Fireball up against it to hold it in place.
I'll drink to that. And of course, Crow returning is here providing you gameplay. If you're catching us on our YouTube version, you can now watch Crow play Cadence of Hyrule. Is this the new DLC?
No. So I bought the game at GameStop today, but I kind of left it at work. So this is the standard version of the game that
Alright.
I'm just going to play through at random.
so what I'm hearing is you fucked it, bro.
I
Not only
did.
did you fuck the tree, you fucked everything.
I did a fuck.
There's a lot of
you
fucking
won't
going
fuck
on
me.
today.
But yeah, this is just the base version of the game. Ooh, it's secret. But we will be doing a playthrough of the deluxe edition on our channel, FourPlayers, so you guys can catch it there.
Yeah, so if you're wondering why we're joined by all of these mysterious guests this week, these are the FourPlayers, or at least 3 thereof.
Yeah, Grace is sleeping.
Check them out. The FourPlayers at YouTube, and you got the same Twitter handle too, I believe, is at the FourPlayers or at FourPlayers.
Yes.
Well, the Twitter handle is a bit more complicated.
Yeah,
You're right. It's got like
FourPlayers,
a number 4 or something just to confuse you.
the number 0 in place of the O in 4, because for some reason the FourPlayers was taken on Twitter, but by an account that hasn't been active since like 2015. I can't go in that water.
Stupid account squatters.
Yeah.
Oh, I can.
They think
That's
they're
right.
so cool with their not being online anymore.
I think they're so cool not being part of the internet.
That
Yeah.
was part
What
of
a
the
bunch of
internet
fucking
once.
nerds.
Yeah.
I'm working on my way to get over to Gerudo Valley.
Today
Or
on
Gerudo
Sean
Desert.
Drinks Something Stupid is the part of the podcast where I drink something stupid. I have this entire bottle of Kraken. Do you think I can
Oh,
finish
fuck
it
yeah.
in the bottom of
You got an entire bottle of crack?
that?
Cracking what?
Oh, I can already tell this is going to be a good podcast.
Yeah, so, actually, so normally I'm the kind of guy that is just, like, totally opposed to everything Christmas happening before Halloween and stuff, and I'm just like, it's happening too soon. But the one exception I will make is motherfucking eggnog. So, yeah, I'm having my first eggnog of the season, and, we gotta fill it up
something you
with
can do to
Kraken
stop
to make it a little better. So, yeah.
I'm sorry. Can we, I'm watching Crow struggle to get this
What?
one Deku scrub.
Look! Shut up! Alright? Don't forget, I'm working with, like, an almost 2-second delay in the audio. This shit's hard, man.
That's right, you are.
Alright,
Are we going to go over what we're all drinking then?
yes, of course, because that's the next part of the podcast, is because now that I've suggested what I'm drinking, which if you're checking us out on YouTube, I also like to show off my stupid nerdy glassware, although today it's just Colorado Rockies, so that's not that nerdy.
Oh, shit,
That's
I
not
didn't-
even nerdy for
okay.
baseball. Nobody likes the Rockies. Except me.
The Rockies don't like the Rockies.
Some years. And by some years, I mean every year except for 2007. Yeah.
Sports ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else? Who's drinking something? You better all be drinking something. Otherwise, I have to go get another drink.
I'm drinking an Imperial Java Stout from Santa Fe Brewing Co. again, and oh god, I'm about to die.
That's not fun. Usually you
Because of
say,
what
"Oh
you're
God,
drinking?
I'm about to die," and we're watching your gameplay, so.
So now it's just very awkward. There's no context.
Yeah.
It's just a sassy link.
Nice. Crow, what are you drinking?
I decided that this wasn't going to be challenging enough, so I'm drinking some Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. So,
Straight up
anytime...
Fireball.
And don't forget your sandwich.
Yes, and I have a turkey
You're
sandwich.
drinking a sandwich?
Yeah,
You
it's...
just put it in the blender with the Fireball and...
No, I hit it with I cast Fireball, and it melted the sandwich and somehow turned it into a liquid. Not sure how that happened, but...
It's a liquid lunch.
All right. Perseus and Snakebox, what are you guys drinking?
I'm just having a nice classic Scotch whiskey.
Yummy. I like me a good scotch. What kind you got?
I see.
I honestly don't know. I
It's just
found bottle
scotch.
and I just poured
He's
it.
got what he
It's
found in the street.
It's generic brand Scotch.
I'm just imagining this bottle with like just a paper scotch taped to it.
There's
Says
Scotch
Scotch.
tape on this bottle of Scotch, and that's how I know it's Scotch.
I made a bad pun. We have to drink.
Here we go.
Is that how this works?
Yes.
Every time a joke is made?
Every time, well,
Oh, no.
specifically puns, or just anytime you feel like it, you can always drink. And I have this little cue card
God.
for the people drinking along at home.
Whew.
No, this is
I
going to
forgot
be a
that's
long night then.
This is going to be a long night for me.
All right, I'll drink to that.
Snake, what are you drinking?
I have a pint of Kraken rum.
A pint of crack.
Pint.
Oh, you also have crack?
That is a
Yeah, man.
lot.
Yeah.
A pint of rum.
Are you intending on dying?
Yeah.
I am.
Oh, okay.
This is the quality content you get on Drink to the Past. You get a man literally dying on our show.
I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah, I usually feel like shit about halfway through the pint, and then I just take it much slower.
I can breathe a lot better now, thanks to that Fireball. All right, here we go.
I mean, Crow has seen me drink pints of rum.
All right. So what do y'all rate those on a scale of 3 to 17?
3 to 17.
3 to
7.
17. 7.
Yeah, you
That's
should
not very
explain
good.
the...
Yeah, the rating system is very rarely explained.
So for those of you who don't know, if you're drinking along at home, our rating system is on a scale of 3 to 17, because in the game of Dungeons and Dragons, when you're rolling your ability scores, you get a random number between 3 and 18, and if you get a full 18, you're probably cheating. So we reserve that for, like, the stupid, most specialist of beers that you have to cheat and give them a higher score. So that doesn't come up much. I've had a couple.
I'll reiterate my number, 7.
All right. Not that great, eh?
I'll do 17 for Kraken.
Kraken is fucking good. This is my favorite rum, so.
Oh, same, yeah.
Yeah. And I've got it with eggnog. I'm more of a beer guy than I am a spirit or mixed stuff guy, but I really dig eggnog and just goes well with the Kraken. I'm going to give that a 14. Chris, what's your beer?
What is it? Imperial Java Stout from Santa Fe Brewing Co. I've had this once before on the podcast. I still am a big fan. It's like coffee and beer together. So yeah, 15.
I got some coffee. What is it? It's Jameson coffee whiskey. It's like coffee liqueur almost, but it's made out of Jameson. It's kind of interesting. It's pretty good. Yeah, maybe you'll have that on the podcast one of these days. All right.
That actually sounds pretty tasty.
Have I got everybody, or I feel like
Crow says you have to give a rating.
Crow, what's your drink?
What
do you rate that Fireball and turkey sandwich? Rate the turkey sandwich too.
Turkey sandwich 17.
Wow.
Fireball.
Badass turkey sandwich.
Fuck, I don't know, man. 6.
Not
Fireball.
a fan of the Fireball.
Fireball's not a fan of me. All right.
That
It's a
is,
love-hate
something
relationship.
that can happen.
Yeah, fuck me. Okay. We should establish some like ground rule. Since I'm the one playing, what sort of stipulation should I have for like when I'm required to drink? Because I don't think on death would be a very good one because of,
Every time you move.
I don't want to die tonight. All right.
Every time you get hit by an enemy, you take a shot.
Every breath you take.
About every time I drop below half health.
Okay.
Nah. Gotta be more often, man. Every time you hit an enemy.
I don't want to die.
You'll be fine.
How about every time you die?
How about I don't think I'll die. So if I do die, because I have these in a bunch of little bottles, if I do die, I'll pound an entire bottle in one go.
There you go.
I'll slam one.
All right, yeah.
It's gonna suck.
Nothing like liver issues.
I didn't think I'd have to say this, but you might actually be coming onto this podcast to die for the entertainment
Chris
of
said
our
coming.
audience.
We have to drink.
Oh God,
Wait, are we drinking that cum?
no.
Wait,
I mean,
wait.
whatever
I mean, you
floats your
can if you
boat,
want. Like, I don't judge.
Wait, what are we drinking at?
Every time you come.
Every time you come, you gotta drink.
Ah, fuck, I'm always chugging then.
Shall we get into the news and booze then? Now that we've kind of gone over.
I'm not
our
sure whether to
list.
envy you or not.
Well, let me tell you, it's just a constant stream.
My God.
I gotta say, I'm impressed.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start our news and booze, and then we can kind of go from there. So, on this part of the show, we talk about our booze. We already kind of did that, so we'll jump into the gaming news section. Manfred Lisner, who's the CEO of Sheenan Multimedia, reports that The Tourist will render in 6K on Xbox Series X and 4K on Xbox Series S, and then it will downsample to the target resolution, which I assume is the maximum output of 4K on Series X, 1440p on Series S. So I just thought this was kind of interesting that they're going out of their way to make the game better than it can actually run on the thing and then downsample. I'm not technically inclined enough to know how that will actually help, but it sounds neat. Anybody played The Tourist?
Never heard of it.
I have no idea what that is.
Huh.
Enlighten us.
I've seen trailers, and that's about it. So I'm I'm not really sure what it's about. It's got this dude in a tourist shirt.
I'm looking at it. It looks like some sort of. It looks like some sort of combination of like a knockoff Roblox or Minecraft game that you'd get on mobile, crossed with like Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like to me,
Jesus.
at least.
That might be a very accurate description, and it might not. So that's why people come here, right? Xbox
have
Series
the best
X
gaming
version
news.
of the Master Chief Collection will include a slew of upgrades, including 120 frames per second on Xbox Series X. So that's kind of cool. If you've got a badass TV and you buy a Xbox Series X, you can run 120 frame per second Halo. I call that okay.
Yeah.
That is pretty okay.
120 FPS Halo. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I do have Master Chief Collection.
Mm-hmm.
What else is
Like,
there?
I'm fine with just 60 FPS already, but like 120, I mean, I'll take it if I can get it.
Right, yeah. And, I mean, as long as it's gonna be just, like, available already on the, Game Pass, if that's the route you're going on Series X, obviously, then it's already included, so I think that's pretty cool.
No, I'm very decidedly not a
Stop
console
following me!
gamer.
Okay.
Ow.
I love me some
So
console
I-
games.
I own a bunch of consoles, but like I have a PS4 and I got The Last of Us Part 2 like on release day, and I only got past like the first hour of it. So that's how often I play a console.
Right.
It's your own fault.
That is my own fault.
Yeah, that's kind of how that goes sometimes, I suppose. A new Drawn to Life game has been leaked by the Taiwanese rating board. It's called Drawn to Life 2 Realms. This is kind of interesting because there hasn't been a game in the Drawn to Life series since the original DS. I believe the last game was like 10 years ago. So a little known Nintendo franchise is making a return. I think that's kind of interesting. I like the first one pretty well. I didn't play any of the other ones. I think there was 2 or 3.
There was a SpongeBob version. There was a SpongeBob version that featured Doodle Bob. I know that much.
I do vaguely remember there was a SpongeBob version.
God, this would give me like flashbacks to whenever the DS era was, 2007.
Right.
This is just making me mad that there's no new F-Zero.
Right? You get a new Drawn to Life before you get a new F-Zero. Who saw that coming?
They need to make a
the-
parody of that Yandere Simulator tracker and just do the same thing for F-Zero.
Oh, you mean like how far behind schedule it is?
Yeah.
I think the
It's
next
basically just like
logical
a dead
step-
game for Smash.
Yeah, I think the next logical step here would be to have the protagonist of Drawn to Life implemented into Smash.
But the protagonist from Drawn to Life is literally a custom character that you draw.
Yeah, exactly.
Can
So,
you do that in Smash? I mean, I
we
guess
should
maybe.
be. Should be able
I
to.
mean, Sakurai's a fucking wizard. He reprogrammed every single one of his 300 stages to make Steve work. So, you know. I wonder how
we
Steve
just have a
goes
moment-
in like stage builder stages.
Can we just have a moment of silence for the loss of Steve's massive cock?
That is a thing that I didn't have in the news and booze, but I probably should have. So if you didn't hear, Steve, for those of you who have got the DLC, the victory pose for Steve just has him holding a piece of meat, and he's holding it inexplicably directly in front of his pelvic area, and it totally looks like he's just jacking it. It's like, why the fuck did you do that? It's hilarious. And so only a week after Steve released, they released a patch which removes the meat from his victory pose. So yes, we will all take off our hats and have a moment of silence.
I'll drink to
Pouring out
that.
for the boys.
I drop below half health.
You guys suck at silence. You're supposed to shut up when I say that.
Yeah, you know, we've never really been known for silence.
I'll drink to that too.
I I figured this was gonna be a clusterfuck, but it's a whole new thing experiencing it.
You
Welcome
never thought
to
you'd
every
experience a clusterfuck with Steve's meat involved, did you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty low on the number of things I would expect
Oh
to
god.
experience in my lifetime.
A new trailer for Age of Calamity has released for the third consecutive week. They've given us a new trailer. The first one showed Impa, Pura, and Robbie, and the next one showed off Master Koga as well as other Yuga forces and a new villain. And this new one focused on Koroks and reveals Hestu has voice acting and a lot of random people on paragliders, including Daruk. And that was one of the things that, like, the internet was all like, "What? Daruk can fly?" I'm like, yeah, okay, so Rivali officially has no purpose in being in the party because everybody can fly. Fuck you, Rivali.
Hey, don't talk shit about my boy Rivali. He might be a piece of shit, but he's a well-meaning piece
He
of
might
shit.
be a piece of shit with no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
If by well,
You know, I was expecting a butt there, but
No.
honestly, there shouldn't be one.
That's the end of my statement.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about all these trailers? Because the first, like, ones were kind of... I didn't really go over them on the podcast because I was figuring out it's just a really little trailer, not a lot of news here. So I haven't been going over them, but now it's like 3 in a row. Okay, so I feel like, are they gonna just give us one a week until release? You know, it's close enough that wouldn't probably spoil too much anyways. So what do you guys think about this? You guys hyped for this game?
I am so fucking
Yeah.
excited for Age of Calamity. You have no idea. I
always
personally have
been,
been
like,
avoiding the trailers though.
That's kind of fair. I've been, like, up in the air about avoiding trailers because I like kind of going into games blind. With this one, I've been watching. I feel like the trailers don't spoil a ton, and I've been kind of avoiding, like, anything, like, past that. Like, you know, as many of the like analysis videos as I do like to watch a lot of the time. I've been kind of avoiding those where it's like, oh, here's you know, these 12 screenshots were released, here's all the tiniest details. I'm like, that's all right. I'll keep up with the little trailers that they've been putting out, and other than that, I'll just, you know, wait for the game to come out.
You know what I've been really liking is the fan art.
Yeah, there has been a lot, especially with the new character reveals, with particularly Pura and the young Impa. People that have been doing fan art have been going nuts, making all sorts of badass art. So,
Oh yeah, they featured Pura younger but also older.
Yeah.
that is kind of hilarious.
Look, don't question it too much. She's a lovely, nerdy lady, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
She's still technically a child.
No.
No,
Well,
she's
she was never a child. There is in
Yeah,
Breath
she
of the
was like
Wild.
112.
Oh yeah, but like that's like saying like.
I mean,
oh,
she
this-
looked like a kid.
this little anime
She had the
girl
appearance of a child.
is
Chug,
2,000
Crow,
years old.
chug. Crow died. We have to drink.
Oh fuck yeah! Now and Crow has to drink a lot more.
Oh, good.
Drink a lot.
All right.
Just right before Crow dies in real life.
Next piece of news and booze, I think, is my most exciting piece for this week. For me personally, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light is being localized for English-speaking players for the first time. Will release digitally on Nintendo Switch December 4th, 2020. Will be available only until March 31st, 2021. So there's also a collector edition that includes a whole slew of random interesting stuff, which I think is a little odd to put in a big collector's edition for a digital game, and it doesn't even come with, like, the game. I mean, it comes with a digital code, but it's like, that's so weird. But
The name is also a mouthful.
it is. Maybe it's shorter in Japanese. I don't know. Probably not. I feel like, if anything, it's longer in Japanese. But this is basically the first original NES Fire Emblem, which released 30 years ago, next year. And it's never come stateside until now. So getting a full localization, getting a all the kind of things you expect for these sorts of re-releases with save states and rewind feature and stuff like that. So
so it's the original NES version.
Yes, it's the original NES version. It's not like a remake. Like they did actually make a remake of it, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, which released on Nintendo DS mid-2000s sometime, I think. Maybe 2010s, actually. That's been a while ago now. How long has that been? I don't remember. But, so that's the only version of the game that has ever come to America. And so I think it'll be actually really cool to go visit the original version. And I didn't spend a ton of time with the DS version anyways. Just because... I don't know what happened to my copy of it, is kind of what happened. Because I came back to it. I quit after a little bit because the art style I didn't really like. I thought everybody looked like a fucking blow-up doll. I'm like, this is just weird art direction.
That is giving me a strange mental image right there.
Just imagine if Marth was a blow-up doll. We have a problem
with that. Yeah, I see no problem with that.
Okay. I mean, I do love me a blue-haired anime boy, so there you go.
Do you love you a blue-haired anime boy blow-up doll?
Yes.
Not if my wife is watching.
Whoa, I didn't know I could do that.
I think I know what to get you for Christmas.
So, what do you guys think about the re-release and special edition and the limited run that it's getting? Because it's only available until March 31st, which Nintendo also did with Mario 35 and Mario...
I don't know why
3D
Nintendo
All-Stars.
is doing these limited runs. It seems so ass backwards to me.
Yeah, it's really kind of a strange decision. And I guess with this one, I feel like it might be silly to buy it now because I feel like since they're making it, they could have just put it straight on to the Nintendo Switch Online app, right? As an NES game. And now I'm like, so are you just gonna milk people for this because it's a limited thing and then put it on the online app later? I feel like that's what's going on.
Maybe.
I've never actually played a Fire Emblem game. Shocking, I know.
Three Houses is good.
I hear
you killed it.
You, Snake and Crow have both played Three Houses, isn't that right?
Yeah. Couple times.
I just wanted to see how many people I could have sex with by the end of the game.
You know, that's respectable.
Fair deal.
That is very respectable.
There are a lot of characters in that game that I would have sex with.
I mean, just like as a main character, or just as like Byleth, or okay.
Yes.
Wait,
I mean, I feel like that's you're going to have a disappointing number there.
Wait, so Snake, how many people can you fuck?
Pretty much everyone.
Why haven't I played this game yet?
According to Grace, Sedith is 100% daddy material, so...
I'd call him daddy. If he let me. Consensually.
Consensual daddy calling.
Nice. All right, and our last piece of news and booze, I think, is one of the least expected things. Guess who's releasing a new console this November?
Is it Snoop Dogg?
It's motherfucking Atari.
Oh.
Yeah.
Atari is releasing the VCS, which is a new console that comes out next month. It features Atari Vault, which is a collection of 100 games from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Plus, here's what I feel like is the drawing factor of this, but I'm not totally sure why it's a drawing factor. Because you can install any PC operating system to this console in order to run PC programs or games, and it also has all the internal components to stream 4K content very nicely. So,
and it has modifiable RAM.
Does it? Okay, I didn't read that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So is is Atari just basically selling a PC now?
Pretty much.
That's what it sounds like, but it's more or less designed to be an under TV kind of media PC. It
does have, so it has, I gotta drink, fuck me. it has modifiable RAM. It has a developer mode, so you can make your own shit. And it also has.
You
I
doing
gotta
okay
hate
there,
this.
Are you all right there?
Cinnamon gets me every time. And I don't remember what else it had. There was some basically, yeah. It's essentially a PC that's fully customizable. So it's 100% customizable home console.
Oh, God.
And I'm all on board for it. Just not for that price.
Yeah,
At some point,
it is releasing
get
at a price of $400. So it's a little expensive. I mean, it's legit quality in theory, but I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like if you've got any other console, I don't see why this one is like justified instead of an Xbox
goodness.
or a PS5.
So is it like, does it have like updated graphics or whatever, or am I still looking at the classic Atari graphics?
It does have some updated graphics games that can play in 4K.
But if you really want to, I'm sure you can play Custer's Revenge in the original resolution.
Yeah.
Right.
You really want to play Pong?
Atari's
It's
ET?
there.
Yeah, that's one of the things though, is I'm like, okay, I've really never thought to myself, gee, I wish I could play fucking Asteroids in 4K, right?
If
I
you
mean,
want to play that, just
that's
play
your
Star Wars
problem.
Squadron.
I'm sure there is a market for this, but I'm not sure where it is. It's such a
one of-
weird idea, I think.
One of my employees pre-ordered one,
Okay,
but he's also a game developer, so.
right, yeah. I guess
The
for that
dev
kind
mode
of
is
thing, it
building.
might be more interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, just based on what I'm hearing and what I'm looking at, it sounds like it's mostly for people who want to get into developing.
Okay. I feel like that's not what their website says and how their website advertises it. It's because I heard about this and I was like, okay, let me look into it. And I looked up on their website and a couple of other websites that gave me like, hey, here's, the basic points that this thing has. And mostly it sounds like it's pushing itself as a like streaming box that you can run 4K stuff in. Crow humped a rock. I'm pretty sure I have to drink.
Only you have to drink, though, right?
You can drink. You can drink
I
anytime
say-
you want. Nobody is
I say,
stopping you
we're
from
not-
drinking.
There's nothing
Every time
stopping
Crow
you from
humps a
drinking,
rock, we take a
Perseus.
shot.
You're welcome to drink. Every time that I drink, so I'm not suffering alone.
Oh no, you're suffering alone.
So yeah, anyways, I think that sounds kind of interesting, but still just a little odd. I didn't see Atari... I didn't see this coming. I thought Atari was pretty much done with consoles.
This just came out of nowhere. This is like the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah.
Atari is trying to reclaim those glory days.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
What
That
the
was
fuck
fucking
did you
hilarious.
just do?
He just moved that rock somehow up a 10-foot cliff.
Look,
It clearly gave you the symbol to throw it at the correct spot when you were on the fucking ground.
look. Don't. Shut up.
Right there! No, you fucking go back!
That's what I needed, is to do that. There we go.
God damn it!
Look, don't. Shut up. Don't worry about it.
Shall we
I'm a
get into
professional.
our video game topic for the week?
Yeah. How bad is Crow at Cadence of Hyrule?
That is our video game topic for the week. Thank you for joining us. This has been the button. So, our video game topic for the week is how much should be changed in retro re-releases. This is kind of coming off of the Fire Emblem news, because I feel like there's a lot of differing opinions when games are remade like this or re-released like this on an emulator or whatever else, and people are like, oh, if you beat it with save states, you didn't really beat it. And I feel like there's kind of two sides to this argument. Where do you guys stand on this? Do you think there should be like large quality of life changes, save state features and such like that, or do you think it should be generally left as is?
I think that it's weird that this thing is rolling in place like this.
That is.
Go ahead.
I would say it's specific to each game's community. Like, for instance, the Command and Conquer, Tiberium Dawn, and Red Alert re-releases. The only thing they really touched was the graphics and the soundtrack. They didn't touch the garbage AI or like questionable game design decisions at all, because we kind of wanted to play the game we remembered, but in less ugly format.
Right. You wanted your crap game to look okay.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I'm still very fond of it.
Right, yeah, that's what I heard from your description there is like, I know this game is crap, but I love it, but I don't want it to look like crap. I just want it to play like crap. So
now it's very pretty, and I can still do all the stupid exploits I used to do when I was a kid.
Nice.
Like walling in the enemy army with sandbags so they can't get past it.
I don't particularly care about the quality of life changes. Like, if they add them, then yeah, that's great. It just makes it more accessible. And it's like, why wouldn't you want your game to be more accessible? You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, difficult games are fun, yeah, but some people aren't into that. Like, I play a lot of Dark Souls, and I make the joke about, like, yeah, you're not a real gamer if you don't play Dark Souls, but that's, like, a fucking joke. And it's like, if Dark Souls had save states, then yeah, I'm sure a lot more people would be playing it, and like I'd love for a lot more people to be playing Dark Souls, so I'd have a lot more people to talk to about the story of Dark Souls and how fucking Seath the Scaleless is kind of a fucking bullshit boss fight.
I don't really feel like Dark Souls is all that inaccessible though. I feel like it's difficult, sure, but it's not inaccessible in the sense that it's like hard to figure out like the controls or what the hell you're even doing. It's you can play it. It's not that hard to get started with.
Well, I mean, yeah, the same could be said about like Contra, you know? Like I can like people can play Contra. The controls are like there's a button to move, a button to jump, and a button to shoot, and that's really all you need. But it's like the difficulty of it often ends up being a wall for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true.
Like casual gamers, you know, not everyone's like a hardcore gamer who can sit for 12 hours at a time playing Cadence of Hyrule and I'm trying to figure out how to kill a Deku scrub.
I think my frame of reference is like old style roguelikes where you had to use every key on the keyboard and there were different, including like uppercase and lowercase, and they all did different things if you wanted to succeed.
Really complicated shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's inaccessible because it requires you to have like a lot of knowledge just to play the game to get into it. And then that's not even getting into like the game mechanics knowledge you need to learn to start really playing the game and doing well.
Yeah.
So there's like, and then Contra's kind of on the other end where it's like, yeah, it's hard, but you have your choices, your options are very limited in what you can do, so it's pretty easy to understand.
I think I look at it the same way that I look at Zelda 2. Sorry, trying to do this at the same time and talk is hard. But I look at it the same way that I look at Zelda 2, which is a sticking point between Sean and I, and has been for a while, where I think Zelda 2 is good. Or, well, better than some other games. But I think... Shut up! I think that Zelda 2 can and should get a, like, remaster or remake. But games like that, where it's known to be, you know, difficult and people struggle with, if you're going to re-release it, the point of re-releasing the game is so that more players can access it. So you'll want to make the game more accessible as a result. So for a game like Zelda 2, yeah, you would want to freshen it up, make it look nice, and improve the gameplay so that, you know, more people can enjoy it. I should look for more hearts. I'm gonna have to drink for this. Yeah.
Well, I feel like there's multiple ways of going about this too. It's not a true dichotomy. That I think there are. What was the game where there was like the updated re-release of the game where you could actually play the original inside of it? Oh yeah, that was Celeste. Celeste, you could play the original Pico 8 Celeste inside of the Celeste we all know and love.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
It was just hidden in a stage somewhere, I think in the hotel.
Couldn't you also do that with Spelunky? Spelunky 1, I mean? I vaguely remember playing Spelunky, and then I also vaguely remember playing, like, a 16-bit version of Spelunky.
I don't know. I never found that. I do remember playing the, like, original pixelated Spelunky before I played, like, the HD Spelunky.
Maybe I'm out of my mind.
I mean, when are you not?
It's more fun that way.
Yeah, true.
But I feel like you can have it both ways. You can just port in the old game as is, maybe even add in save states if you really want to, and then remake it. And it's just a question of what you're going for as a developer. What kind of audience you're trying to attract? Are you trying to attract new people who might be turned off by the old style of the game? Or are you trying to sell the same game that current fans love back to them?
Well, then there's the issue of, like, if it's just like a visual remaster, then it's like, what's the point other than graphical purposes? If it plays exactly the same, like fairly recently, Kingdoms of Amalur got a remaster, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, right? And it, I love Kingdoms of Amalur, but from what I hear, the remaster is pretty much exactly the same as the original version. Like, there was no need for such a remaster like that, and so, like, the re-release was unnecessary. So
It's just like there was... Sorry, go ahead.
There's like a point to be made where if you're going to re-release a game, you should you be changing more things up other than just the visual graphics. I think the same thing happened for one of the Tony Hawk games. I think Tony Hawk 2.
So I think one major point in re-releasing a game as playing as it was originally, in favor of that, is basically preserving the game for posterity, since, you know, old hardware wears out. Not everybody has even an NES.
Oh no.
So if you re-release an old game for a newer system just to have it out there, then that game is, you're kind of preserving that for future generations.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think is kind of cool about it, especially with stuff like the, you know, that's why people are big into the NES and Super NES, like little classic systems that, you know, it's a re-release of these old games. And the same with the Nintendo Switch Online. The way that they're selling that partially is that, hey, you get to play all these classic games, and, you know, it's they're not really changed in terms of gameplay. They have, you know, like a couple of those quality of life features we were talking about, but primarily the difference is just that you're, you know, able to play them on Switch instead of digging out, you know, an NES, finding a Japanese copy of Fire Emblem, learning Japanese, realizing that it only works in a Japanese Famicom and not in an NES, going and buying a new console. You know, you can't, that is not feasible for the average consumer, but a large number of people, especially with the popularity of Three Houses, I'm sure are interested. Where did this series start? Especially Americans like me. You know, I started early on compared to most Americans. I started on the Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem because that was the first US release we got, was Fire Emblem 7. and I would dearly like to go back and play, you know, the first 6, but I never really have because they weren't available. And even if they were, in some cases, it would still be kind of infeasible because, like, if I wanted to play the original Mario Brothers even, I could get a copy of that. I could get an NES. It would be a pain in the ass to, you know, I'd probably have to special order some sort of a input device so that I could plug it into an HDMI port on, you know, modern TVs. But even then, that would just be kind of annoying. Whereas they put it on Switch or on one of these little handy collectible, you know, NES classics. Okay, now I've just, it's way million times easier to just play these games. And that's something that I think is really important to me. I like to replay a lot of these games, and I also like to kind of play them with my kids and show them where these games came from, how these games started, and they usually get a kick out of that too. They really like the, you know, Super Nintendo Donkey Kong Country and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the main like want for remasters and re-releases nowadays is simply for the accessibility of it. Because like you said, it's a lot more work to find the console it originally released on than to just boot it up on your Switch. Which is why there are some re-releases that just seem unnecessary. And I harken back to Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, mostly because I was just so disappointed by the re-release.
Shit.
Oh,
Don't die, Crow.
Crow
I'm
died,
trying.
and
you know
he's
what,
got
you know
3
what you gotta
hearts.
do.
Oh, there they
No,
go.
I mean, like, actually don't die in real life from all the booze you're drinking.
Yeah.
Bro, how many shots have you taken so far?
This is the 3rd time he's died, right?
The 2nd time that I've died. I honestly, not keeping track of how many times I've had to drink. Enough times that I'm feeling warm from, I would assume the cinnamon, because God, the cinnamon burns. But it could also be the booze. But I'm also like halfway through my sandwich, and I have a glass of milk just in case, so I'll survive, I hope.
All right.
Snake, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts on the whole re-releases thing?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
There was rumors of. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm good.
Bro, do you need to take a break?
The cinnamon. It's the cinnamon more
Do I
than
need
anything.
to start drinking for you?
It's mostly the cinnamon fucking burns.
A likely story.
There's rumors of the Metal Gear remakes. So that's
There's
your
been
thoughts on that.
rumors of Metal Gear remakes since like Metal Gear Solid 3.
And the only remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 we got was for a pachinko machine.
Shut the fuck up.
That's amazing.
I think we have to drink. That was some.
Disappointed about that.
Yeah, we all know Konami sucks.
Speaking of Konami, I'm kind of derailing the conversation now, but you ever heard that Kojima has announced that a new game is in production?
Yeah. I thought about putting that on NooznBooz a week or 2 ago when that news came out, but it wasn't really news. It's just like, hey guys, a new game is in production. That's it. Didn't say anything about it.
All we know.
So Kojima Productions is making something, and based on what they did with Death Stranding, I can accurately predict nothing, because nobody could have expected anything that Death Stranding did at all. That game was a glorious masterpiece of what the fuck.
It redefined walking simulator.
Yes.
I hope this next game also has Norman Reedus in it.
That would
I hope
be okay.
every game he makes has Norman
Right? Yeah,
Reedus.
just every game is Norman Reedus as the protagonist. And you have to have the ubiquitous NPC played by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
I hope every game from now on just features Norman Reedus as the protagonist.
Right. I feel like it was just great having Guillermo del Toro by your side the whole time, telling you what the fuck was going on, because you wouldn't have been able to figure it out without him there. Like it, I'm not even totally sure I understood it half the time, even though he was there. But he was always friendly about it, especially when he stepped into the shower and it's just like, hey, I'm here now. We're talking.
Wait, there's a shower scene?
Yes,
There's a
between
bunch of
Norman
shower
Reedus and Guillermo del Toro.
Fuck, why haven't I played this game yet?
It's coming out on PC, I believe. I believe it's out on PC.
It's already out on PC. I
Yeah.
just haven't gotten it yet.
Definitely worth a play. Trippy as balls and just I love it. I don't know.
Crow, don't
I
fuck this
love
up.
walking.
Shut up.
I believe
We're
in
all
you,
waiting
Crow.
with bated breath for Crow
Alright,
to
I
throw
don't
this
believe
rock.
in you. You're gonna die.
Somebody has to believe in me. No, I know. Don't fucking sigh at me. I know what I'm doing. Hold on.
You sure? You sure about that?
There you go. There you go.
Okay, dropped it on yourself.
I don't think you can get up from that side, Crow.
We're encouraging. We're being encouraging.
We're all waiting with bated breath. The audio listeners are going to be so confused.
Yeah. So if you're listening on Podbean, then check out that YouTube. Give us a subscription, or just leave a mad comment and be like, "Fuck you guys. Pay more attention to the Podbean subscribers."
You know what we could do? We could incorporate audio visuals where if we just play a bunch of sounds to really fuck with the listener, fuck with all their senses. I think I've had too much to drink now.
Yeah, wait, what are you saying?
I don't know.
You want to fuck
Bro.
with their senses?
Corey, you broke it.
Look. Do you want to do this?
I can't.
Oh, have the other.
No, put it back. Alright, now move that bottom one to the... There you go.
I'm gonna push it.
You gotta not push it.
It's
You
a
gotta
little awkward to host a podcast when I'm so enamored by Crow not knowing what the fuck to do.
Hey. I'm sorry. Do you know the answer, Mr. Host Man?
Yeah, open the box. Duh.
I. Gonna fight you guys there. See? Fuck you.
That's what I was gonna say.
Hate you guys so much.
Oh, we lost Perseus.
That's okay. He should be back momentarily. So is there anything else on this? I guess there's still a little bit we could go into, because I wondered also what you guys kind of thought about, remasters or total, overhauls, with Metroid Samus Returns versus just a simple NES re-release, stuff like that. Would you guys rather have seen a full brand new 3D remake of Fire Emblem #1, or are you guys more interested in the retro style and to see more where it really came from?
I like the idea of taking something old and making something really just cool and new and amazing out of it. Similar to the RE2 remake, Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
How when they completely just changed everything with it, but it was still the same game. So I don't know, that kind of shit. That's pretty cool to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of like both for different reasons, because with Samus Returns particularly, it was just really cool to just kind of have that game a little, more polished. I feel like the gameplay was more dynamic. It felt, the original Metroid 2 was pretty much you just run and shoot, and that's all you do. And at the time, that was fine, But,
Yeah.
20 years later, I think the overhaul really did it good. It felt like a modern game. So I really dig that. But at the same time, when you're getting these re-releases of where it's exactly the same game, I'm cool with that as well, for totally different reasons.
Yeah. Crow.
You taking a shit over there?
I
What's
was
going
gonna say, I
on?
think he's
Oh,
done.
good.
Somebody's just sucking him off under the table or something. He's just
Yeah.
So good.
finally let it go.
It's just the cinnamon is fucking killing me.
Cinnamon is sucking you off under the table?
Look, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answers to.
I reboot up my PC and I come to hear crows being sucked off. And
Yeah, I
his
guess.
bottle of Fireball.
I would just like to just say, why does crow get sucked off and I don't?
I mean,
I
you're
mean,
not
you
start
need to know
talking
the right
nicely
people,
to your
that's all.
bottle of Fireball, and I bet it will suck you off.
Yeah, what he said.
Just don't get it stuck.
That'd be
He'll
awkward.
burn.
You're talking from experience there. Would you like to indulge us more in that?
Nah.
Is there something we want to talk about? Are you fucking serious?
Don't fall in the river, Crow.
Get fucked.
So in a retro re-release, do you guys think save states are, like, necessary for modern gamers? Because I feel like modern gamers really appreciate them, if nothing else. You jumped in the water again.
What? I feel like you did that on purpose.
I did not!
Necessary? No. I feel like anybody can get good at these games. It's just we usually lack the patience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a matter of just more accessibility, because with save states now we can like save a game and come back to it whenever. You know, like a lot of these old games, like a lot of them had to be finished in like one go. You know.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of kids end up doing, I know I did this when I was a kid, I just leave the console on. I'd pause the game and leave the console on, like overnight or until whenever the next time I could play was.
Until
and let me
dawn.
tell you, that was not good for the electricity bill.
I'm
I
sure.
just played the
Well,
game, like,
actually,
20 times.
having the ability to save is good, I suppose. But having save states in like the emulator sense is a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that in any way it cheapens the experience and gives you an ingenuine feel of what the game used to be like?
To an extent. I think, and I know this is a big sticking point for Lyle, Breath of the Wild. He is very much like a proponent of, you know, yes to save states, let people play as they want. Save state wins is just as valid as regular wins, and to an extent I agree. Like, you know, like you said, save states are a good way to help with accessibility and give more players a chance and a way to play your game. But I do think that it does cheapen the experience a little bit to have and win by save states, as opposed to, you know, the way the game was built and meant to be played.
Right.
But that's just my opinion. Like, I don't have any issue with save states, and I think that some games could certainly benefit from save states to improve accessibility. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no problems with save states either. But like there are some people who get so hardcore about it, and then we just get back to that Sekiro tweet about cheating on Sekiro. It's like, you not only cheated the game, but you cheated yourself or whatever the fuck.
Really?
Yeah, you remember when Sekiro first came out, PC Gamer released an article where it's like, I beat Sekiro's final boss with cheats and I feel fine. And someone quote tweeted that with like, you cheated not only the game, but you cheated yourself. You didn't improve or anything. You took a shortcut and gained nothing.
Was that
Alright,
Ninja?
so I love games. I love games. I think about games all the time, both tabletop games and video games. And I just feel like this whole thing, oh god. Man, you really you're having a rough night,
I am.
Crow.
I'll
can see
be
his
drinking with
skill
you, buddy.
get worse
Yeah.
and worse as he gets more and more wasted.
I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not buzzed at all.
Yeah.
I'm just in
don't
pain.
believe
It's
that.
all gonna hit you like a fucking sack of bricks in like
Oh yeah.
20 minutes or something. You'll just be like,
Bro, might I suggest standing up?
fuck, I'm all drunk, guys.
I don't want to stop. Where did I die?
All right, today's beer of the week from me is La Cumbre Malpais Stout, or Malpai Stout. I really have no idea how to pronounce this, but this is some kind of stout. I had one of these the other day. It's decent, like very malt forward, very chocolatey. That's a pretty good stout. It's on the sweeter end of stouts. I don't know why I haven't been into sweet stouts as much lately. I've been like, want me like a darker, heavier oatmeal stout or something like that.
Maybe it's
But,
all the sweet mixed drinks you've been drinking.
that could be part of it, yeah. Or eggnog and Kraken.
So what I was gonna say, what I was leading into with that really long tangent there, is the whole cheating at Sekiro and you've cheated yourself thing is inherently fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
mean,
like
who
people
cares?
enjoy video games in different ways,
Yeah.
and if people like use cheats or whatever to make a game easier, but if they're still enjoying it, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so long as everyone's enjoying the game.
Yeah.
Having fun is all that matters in the end.
Well, having fun and eating tacos, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Drinking beer.
Yeah.
And drinking beer, yeah.
and coming.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
I've already got that covered as a step at the beginning of this.
It's just like nonstop for you. It's like what is it? It's just like a
It's
sink
like a
faucet
constant
or
stream. It's like a constant stream.
The room is filling up.
No,
Yeah.
like I have to get a tube put in my urethra and it funnels out.
you got like
the
a
nearest
catheter
sperm
for,
bank.
but like for your balls.
Yeah. It
Okay.
all leads to the nearest sperm break. To the nearest sperm bank.
Is it weird now that I'm suddenly wondering if any brewer has ever made a jizz-based beer?
I don't want an answer to that question.
I kind of do.
You can wonder all you want over there.
That
you
is
like
a
to be a
style
first?
I have never had.
Do you think, what would that be like? It'd probably be frothy.
It probably would
Why?
be.
Didn't know I could go back here.
Apparently, you can go back there, Crow.
Oh boy.
Crow, did you know you
That
can go back
Rope's
there?
gonna kick your
I didn't
ass.
know that I could go back there.
Oh.
I feel like a
Aw!
base.
Why are you disappointed that I'm not getting my ass kicked?
Because I want to drink.
You enjoy my suffering?
I'm
I feel like
suffering
a
with you, bro.
jizz-based alcohol would. It would not taste the same twice.
Is there anything else we want to say on this topic of changing re-releases?
Oh, I thought you were gonna talk about the topic of jizz-based alcohol. I have a lot to say about jizz-based alcohol now.
I'm really glad the podcast isn't about that.
Hold on, let me change
Welcome-
our table topic.
Welcome to a
no.
gist of the past.
Jizzed.
The third jizziest podcast.
Third.
Only the third? What are the first and second?
I don't know.
Pornhub.com and
I'm not a stats guy.
Critical Role.
Yeah, Critical Role. Makes sense.
I'm sure Matt Mercer would appreciate.
Yep.
Would he?
Matt Mercer, if you're
the
listening, we just plugged you on our podcast. You should plug us on your podcast.
Matthew
Yeah.
Mercer, if you're listening, can you please, marry me?
Like, can you please comment, and subscribe?
Yeah. Watch, he just likes, comments, and subscribes, and we'll gain 1 like, 1 comment, and 1 subscription, and we'll still be like a, tiny ass YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But we have fun. We
Regret.
have more fun than
Regret.
everybody else.
Regret.
All right, so
Going
let's
on,
move
go-
on
oh,
to
there you go.
our table topic then for the day.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Tabletop.
Yeah, tabletop,
tabletop.
and it's a
Topic, like
topic.
tabletop.
That's why we call it a table topic.
Ah, that's clever. I'm gonna have to drink.
All right, I'll drink to that. So, the table topic this week is how much should they change a system to justify adding a new edition of a tabletop system? This is kind of looking at various different approaches over the years that I've been playing RPGs. Did you just get inside of that Lizalfos?
No, he was floating in the air.
Oh, okay. I was like, thought you were just like making out with him for a minute.
Get out of the water.
But yeah, so particularly in Dungeons and Dragons is one of our more well-known tabletops. I think it's safe to say we've probably all heard of that one, right?
I've never heard of it.
What is it?
Before in my life.
Okay, well,
What's a dungeon?
it's
What's and?
and means ampersand.
What the fuck is that?
A dungeon is like a thing where you do stuff. That's what
That's
a dungeon
very
is.
descriptive. I now know every single thing I need to know about Dungeons and Dragons. Thank
Yes.
you so much.
You do stuff, ampersand, dragons.
It's not having any luck. There we go.
But it's funny that you bring that up, because I think last night or the night before, Snake and I were discussing this while we were playing Warzone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were discussing the changes between Pathfinder and 5th edition, because those are probably without a doubt the two most popular renditions of D&D.
I'm sure there's
for
people
the
that still
fantasy
play
role
4th edition
playing,
out there somewhere.
I'm certain that so what I was thinking about when I was picking the topic here is basically for D&D specifically, every time they invent a new edition, they really reinvent the entire system from its core mechanics to it. They keep a lot of the core concepts. Obviously, you've got pretty much your same regular classes and stuff, the same races
Hey, I'm back.
throughout. Chris is back, woohoo! You look at AD&D to 3rd edition to 3.5, 3 to 3.5 was like a kind of a little more balance changing thing. But then you look at other tabletop systems, and some of them are not so much they don't go as far in the changes when they're going. For Hero System, like if you played Hero System 1st edition and then you picked up a Hero System 5th edition book, it's all of the changes in between were kind of these patch note kind of changes where they just changed it a little bit, gave it some tweaks, some balance issues were fixed and things like that, and then they published that. What do you guys think? Is it better to really go out of your way to reinvent and really make it a new system every time? Or would it be better to keep, the core mechanics the same and just tweak what really needs a tweak?
I think when you make saying D&D has had different editions, other than say like 1st edition and 2nd edition specifically, they're really entirely different games.
Yeah.
3rd edition and 3.5 is a whole different beast than AD&D 2nd edition, and 4th edition is a whole different beast than 3rd edition, and 5th edition is a whole different beast than 3rd edition.
Mm-hmm.
So those you could call those all different things, and like not D&D, and you'd probably be right, which is why when people say we're playing D&D, there's a lot of confusion about what that might entail.
Yeah. Like when somebody says we're playing D&D and then they say 4th edition and you're like, you're not playing D&D, you're playing 4th edition.
Yeah. Or if I'm like, hey, AD&D is a very different thing from like 3rd edition.
Mm-hmm.
Or OD&D is a very different thing from like basic or all of that. So all of those editions are so different that you could have ended up calling them different games, and it would have been just fine. I feel like a new edition of a game should be an iteration, if only for the sake of keeping an idea of it being the same game.
Mm-hmm.
It bothers me that this fan isn't Spanish. That's all.
So
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting how different systems do a different approach, though, because like it feels to me kind of like the I feel like the hero system kind of takes a Madden approach, right? Where it's like, okay, update roster, make some balance changes, you're good. Whereas D&D really takes the Final Fantasy or Zelda kind of idea, and it's just like, nope, everything you know is wrong. We're doing something totally different this time. Fuck it.
yeah,
And I feel like those both have their kind of benefits, but also, particularly in D&D, it comes up with the complication of then, like, older players that haven't played in, you know, like, I played with a guy back when 4th edition was popular, was the current system. It wasn't as popular as 5th is now, obviously. But 4th was the current system. I was still kind of that stick in the mud. No, I'm still going to play 3.5. And he had played AD&D a long-ass time ago and brought in his AD&D books. And I tried to, like, learn AD&D for the group just because that was what he played. Although then I figured out that he hadn't played in long enough that he had forgotten it all anyway and was relearning it. And so I was like, fuck it. As long as you're relearning a new system, let's do it in 3.5 so that one of us knows what's going on, right? And so that's this kind of miscommunication error issue that can come up is, you know, I'm familiar with 3.5. Now, sometimes we play 5th edition and I'm not as familiar, and I feel like some of those problems could have been alleviated if they didn't have to completely throw away everything that they had created, you know, in order to make a new system. And I don't know if the benefits of this are outweighed by the drawbacks or vice versa, but I think it's just an interesting thing to kind of take a look at. What do you guys think?
I like having the different editions of D&D being so vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I really have only ever played 5th edition, so I might be a bit biased to that. But from what I understand, like, 5th edition, like, as more editions come out, it also makes it more accessible. Like, from what I understand, 5th edition is, like, one of the easiest things to, like, just pick up and learn in terms of, like, learning a TTRPG, because it's, like, there are a lot less things going on as compared to something like Pathfinder or 4th edition or 3.5 edition or whatever. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it being more accessible. Like, fucking 20, 30 years ago, everyone looked down on D&D players as like, oh, look at these fucking nerds. And now D&D is almost commonplace everywhere you look.
Yeah.
Especially with what was that Netflix show again? Stranger Things. Like, ever since that came out, everyone's been playing D&D 5th edition.
Yeah.
And, like, having them be so vastly different, I don't think is a bad thing. Like you said, there are definitely drawbacks to it. But, like, because it's a whole new system of itself, you can always just go back to another one and just stick to that one if you are so inclined to do so. Nothing is keeping you from going back. Nothing is forcing you from playing the most recent edition. Especially since it's D&D and it's a tabletop RPG, a lot of it can just be homebrewed and, like, made up on your own, you know?
Yeah, that's true. We do a lot of homebrew content when Chris and I play, particularly when I DM. Like, almost all of my stuff is homebrew. I very rarely will use any kind of published material. Occasionally I'll look at that kind of material and, like, kind of draw inspiration, you know, maybe steal a mechanic or a you know, some kind of plot point that I could shoehorn into my game or something. But that's about it.
Yeah, so again, there's like nothing wrong with going back to the previous edition, and there's nothing wrong with doing the most recent edition.
Mm-hmm.
Snake, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, I agree with pretty much everything you just said.
Yeah, we were talking about Pathfinder like last night. And what exactly were we talking about? I feel like I had marginally something to do with this conversation.
I can't really remember, to be completely honest with you.
Pathfinder is one of those systems that sprung up in response to 4th edition, that it was an iteration on 3.5 as opposed to a total redesign.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where a lot of the players who liked 3.5 went. I feel like every time a new edition of D&D comes out, the people who like the old edition mostly don't move to the new edition.
Oh, Crow's dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
Fuck! I didn't think it would do that.
Yay, we get to
Damn it, I
drink.
just took a drink.
Drink again.
I'll drink to that.
So, I think having a new edition that's a redesign is a bad idea, because you're not, except for maybe D&D, because D&D has like bigger brand name recognition as the face of tabletop RPGs than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad idea because you're playing an entirely different game with different, not just different rules, but different expectations. The style of play is different. Like 5th edition characters are much tankier than say they were in 3.5, and there's much less of the character building minigame. AD&D 1st edition is much more about like finding treasure and fighting smart and avoiding fights because everything's so goddamn lethal.
Mm-hmm.
So if you introduce someone, if you say, hey, let's play D&D, and then you introduce like a 3.5 player into it, they're going to be like, what the hell is this? This is totally different than what I wanted or what I was expecting.
This is promising.
So I think I'm much more of the editions should be iterations, as in whatever they add should be compatible more or less with the previous versions.
Mm-hmm.
If only because, or they should at least have the same expected kind of play style. Because this changing it up thing has resulted in some really bizarre design throughout the years. You can see in like module design from 2nd edition, 3rd edition onward, that things kind of got, they lost their way on how to design like functional adventures, and you can tell that they're kind of worse than a lot of the early adventures.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think some consistency wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Just to make it easier for people going like to different editions, if they wanted to play like 4th edition but they've never played it, like they still like at least have an idea as to what they're getting into, you know.
Yeah, that's one of my things kind of with 5th edition, being a, big 3.5 player, and even having played a lot more Pathfinder than I have 5th edition. When I'm playing 5th edition, the mechanics are similar enough to where I feel like I want to have an idea what I'm doing, but I don't always, because they have a lot of similar mechanics, but they've changed them all in such a way that a lot of things just seem like nonsensical, like pointless changes. And I wonder if they had to reinvent it that much, or if they could have just, here's a couple of the updates, you know, like the having 6 saving throws now instead of 3, and, you know, not changed a lot of these, you know, more niche mechanics like grappling and charging and stuff like that. I feel like that kind of just makes it more confusing to old players, even if it is more accessible and easier to learn for new players. I think that's a weird kind of double-edged sword moment that comes out of this kind of design.
Also, to rag on 5th edition some more, I gotta say the 6 saving throws thing, as opposed to the 3, it smacks of people being like, oh, wouldn't it just be more elegant to have saving throws be represented by the 6 stats? But it's almost like they didn't think any further about that. Why the design was the way it was originally. Because how often do you need to use your intelligence to save for something, other than in like incredibly contrived situations? Or like your strength to save against something.
Yeah.
It's the saving throws in 3.5 at least had a logic behind them. And
Yeah.
I feel, and because they're designing a new game, but they don't know what kind of gameplay loop they're expecting out of the game, it ends up being, it ends up having a lot of these weird design decisions that don't really hold up under play in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like going forward, it probably wouldn't hurt to like have some sort of compromise, like between keeping the same but also adding some new stuff. You know?
Yeah. I feel like it was neat to add the 6 saving throws, but I feel like it was just kind of pointless. I don't feel like you had a purpose, because like you're saying, 3 of them most of the time you don't use. Most of the time you're still using your wisdom, dexterity, and constitution, which would have been your fortitude, reflex, and will in 3.5. So
Yeah.
it's like that's one of the things that I kind of try when I'm homebrewing my enemies, is I try to give them all an ability, or at least the bosses, I try to give at least one ability to affect every saving throw. And when I'm just making like little enemies in the dungeons and stuff like that, I try to give them a varied amount of things, so that between all the enemies in the dungeons, theoretically you should have to use all 6 of your saving throws at some point. And I feel like I spend an inordinate amount of time kind of homebrewing these enemies to go out of my way to utilize a mechanic that doesn't really need to be utilized. And I would have never thought to do this in 3.5, and I feel like I spent a lot less prep time in 3.5 because I wasn't trying, because I feel like in 5th edition, if you're a nice balanced character, and if I throw something at you, I still have, I feel like I have to throw more kinds of things at you in order to make the campaign challenging at all. I could theoretically just stick to the fortitude, reflex, and will style saves, but then it would be like...
Why can't I tell what anything is?
You're blind.
I've never seen that.
You got some status effect on you.
I think you've had too much to drink, Crow.
I have.
Yeah, I can very clearly see what's on the screen right now. Like, what are you seeing?
Okay, what are these that I'm killing?
Bats and slimes, like.
Yeah, you're killing a bunch of slimes right now. Like, I don't know what you're seeing, but
There's some tough-ass slimes then.
They're called choo-choos, gosh.
Yeah, fucking heathens.
I think, like, just because we don't use all 6 saving throws, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's nice that they're there, you know?
Okay.
I
can kinda see that.
100% disagree. I think when you're designing a system like this, you should expect the pieces. You should put in the pieces that you expect to be used. You shouldn't design for a false idea of elegance. You should design for use, for your expected use case.
It's also kind of a fair point.
Yeah, that is a fair point. I can see the logic behind that. I personally just I like having them there, like even if I'm not gonna use them, I like having them there in case I ever need to use them. For whatever like story purposes or gameplay purposes in whatever campaign I'm running.
I feel like for this
so
particular
confused.
thing, it'll also kind of depend on just the DM and their particular style too.
Yeah.
And-
you know, because not every DM, because some DMs I'm sure are just going to be happy to, you know, use the same kind of abilities they always have and use only 3 of their saves, or even none of them. Maybe they'll just make every enemy as a melee attacker.
I play a lot of OSR variant that's kind of similar to the early editions of D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea there is when you need like an odd mechanic, you just kind of draft it up for the situation. Like, sure, you have your saving throw, or like your table of saving throws or whatever.
Oh, didn't mean to do that.
You're Zelda now.
Okay, there's a lot of enemies. What the fuck is going on?
Just a bunch of slimes. Goblins and shit.
They're all choo-choos.
What are you seeing, bro?
Literally all question marks.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Bro, I think you've had a bit too much to drink. I think maybe you should take a break.
Yeah, you
The
should probably
fireball's
take a
getting to
break.
me, guys. Oh god.
Is there anything else we have?
Seriously, like that is just, those are just slimes.
Is there anything else we have to stay on our table topic?
Crow, do you have anything to say? I don't think you really pitched in too much.
Focus on the question marks.
Crow died, we have to drink. Apparently you were defeated by a tree mimic.
Oh shit.
Oh
No,
fuck!
it was very clearly a tree mimic.
Shut up!
It was the tree mimickiest tree mimic you ever saw.
I didn't shit.
What was I gonna go with? Having new editions add things
Oh
or
my
like
God.
change things in a way that renders them applicable to the same playstyle of game as the original edition, I feel like is the way you want to go about things.
Kind of like stay true to itself, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like when you completely... And those can be like big changes, sure, but I feel like when you do what D&D does, you lose your way and the expected gameplay kind of breaks into pieces. Sort of like how 4th editions kind of got a reputation for having my precious combat encounter railroad. So everybody expects... So the design is very different for each of those games.
I think it all kind of just boils down to what the DM, what the Dungeon Master, how the Dungeon Master plays, as well as how the players want to play. You know? There are all these different elements that get added or removed with each edition. And it just kind of comes down to whichever one the players and the DM are most comfortable with and how their style of DMing and playing is like.
But we expect systems as a DM or as a referee. When I'm running a game, I kind of expect the system to give me tools to help me out, and to not get in the way. And when I play like these older school systems, I feel like they're better at getting out of the way and giving me tools to work with than, say, 4th edition. I feel like 4th edition would actively be working against the way I want to run the game.
Mhm.
Not to rag on 4th edition. But
I have not much to say on anything other than 5th edition, simply because I've pretty much only played 5th edition. I've done reading and I've looked into other editions, but
okay.
in terms of playing, I've really only done 5th
So,
edition in Dungeons and Dragons.
5th edition characters are, on average, very durable. And that's because you're expected to get
What the
a
fuck?
lot of your experience from combat. From, like, combat encounters. And
Okay.
if I want to run a game that's about, like, getting treasure out of a dungeon, or or a game where characters are a bit more vulnerable, so they need to use their brains a bit more, 5th edition will actively get in my way. I will have to write around kind of the assumptions 5th edition makes when preparing content.
Here's the thing I think this just goes back around to just, it really depends on who you are and what your playstyle is, because even though I play 5th edition almost exclusively, I absolutely hate combat in D&D 5th edition, and so I'll often go around it. I'll do milestone leveling, or I'll like encourage more role-playing aspects, more diplomacy and all that. So I'm not necessarily seeing all of the obstacles you're coming across when you're doing a lot of combat. Because to me, D&D 5th edition isn't combat heavy, but that's simply because I am adverse to it.
But, alright, so it may be that your players play differently, but there's also what changes are you making to the system to make it less combat heavy?
Well, it's not changes to the system I'm making, it's more changes to the plot that I'm weaving. And it's not to say that like every campaign I run has 0 combat. There's still a hefty amount of combat. It's just that there's less so that there's less combat whenever I'm DMing, because I just don't like spending so much time rolling to hit and then rolling for damage for like 20 rounds.
In your opinion, do you think that combat takes away from the story and the narrative of the game?
I think combat can kind of complicate things when it comes to the story and the narrative of the game.
This is actually kind of what I mean about like the game getting in the way. There are games that have combat that resolves much more quickly than 5th edition does.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget that like one round of combat in 5th edition is 6 seconds. Like canonically speaking.
Yeah.
So that can also kind of complicate things, especially with the whole talking is a free action controversy that happened.
I've actually never had a problem with that. I just figured you move in anime time. You say the thing, you're like, I'm stopped time for 2 seconds, and then you give like a long ass speech, and then you like hit somebody.
It works out.
I'm picking on JoJo's a little bit here. But
I'll drink to picking on JoJo's. I'm a One Piece man.
Dio!
Yeah, no, really. How long was that 2 seconds that time was stopped for?
It was a whole 30-minute episode.
Yeah. It was like long enough for like a couple sentences.
I feel like there was a episode of Dragon Ball Z where they only had 5 minutes left before something bad would happen, and
before Namek
explodes.
explodes.
It was like literally 2 episodes later that it actually happened.
So it was, we only have 5 minutes left till Namek explodes, and then the fight went on for like another 10 episodes. But
Yeah, 5
I
minutes
don't even
before
think that's an
Namek
exaggeration.
explodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's the next season, and then it finally happens.
Yeah.
And then it happens for another 5 episodes.
That's how Dragon Ball Z works. Whatever happens for 5 episodes, at least, like minimum, 5 episode minimum. It's like you go to the bar, you have a 2-drink minimum. They got a 5 episode minimum.
Yep.
Like if Goku went to the bar, it would have to be like 5 episodes that he's there.
They really stretched the hell out of that series.
If Goku played D&D, what class do you think he would play?
Barbarian.
I mean, Sword Sage probably.
Oh, hello.
Unarmed variant Sword Sage.
I feel like he would pick a random class that nobody expected, and then like he would have no idea what the fuck he was doing the entire time, but somehow he would do the exact correct thing every time. He'd just be like, he'd be like a fucking sorcerer, and they'd be like, everybody is totally screwed, and he'd just like flip to a random page. He's like, I cast this spell. It's like, that's the spell that the boss is weak to. He dies instantly, and everybody levels up. What the fuck?
That is exactly what I was thinking. He would play like some like fucking ranger, and then do everything exactly wrong, but in the best way that it turns out well.
I think the moral of the story in this lesson is, if you want to play DBZ as like a tabletop game, don't use D&D.
Which is funny because we literally did that once.
Yeah, but I mean, you also changed the system entirely.
I did. I didn't change the system entirely. I just made homebrew classes.
Yeah.
That were all about taking a long time to do stuff, because literally you could like one of the things that I made in all of the classes was that you could like charge attacks for any number of rounds in order to increase their power. That was hilarious. Is that all we have to say on...
I was say, I'm fucking fighting Ganon over here, and you guys are talking about how Goku's a dumbass.
You got this, Crow. Or
I don't know how I'm not dead yet.
Drink your health potion.
What health potion?
Didn't you buy like 5?
Yeah, they're gone. Oh, by health potion, do you mean Fireball? Yeah, I'll drink that.
I'll drink to that.
Oh, no, that's not health, that's poison.
I think we've got as far as we can on this topic.
Yeah, I think so too. So that brings us basically to our ending segment of Drink to the Past. So thank you all for joining us. We'll shamelessly shill our shit. So my name is Sean Michael Patrick Thompson. You can catch me on YouTube, Podbean, and good old Apple, except for, no, boycott Apple. The podcast is there, so if you really want to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, then go ahead, but I'd prefer you listen to me on other places because Apple is a dick.
Literally anywhere else.
You can also find me on Twitter at SpamoManoSpam and on TwoGuysPlayingZelda.com. I got a upcoming kind of holiday buying guide for what you should buy for your new console this year on the TGPZ Gaming website, so look out for that. And of course, Zelda. Yeah, also lots of Zelda stuff. And of course, we are joined today by the FourPlayers, or at least 3 of them. Good enough. So, good old Crow.
You guys know who I am. Crowbird Cannon on pretty much everything except, our channel, the FourPlayers, where we're doing Phasmophobia right now because it's spooky season. But
Phasmophobia.
Also, Crow occasionally is known to hump statues.
Yeah.
Crow's like a dog.
We're also using this crossover event to cross-promote our channel because we have a podcast of our own that's launching.
Yeah, check them out.
We do?
Yeah, surprise.
Oh no, Crow, what could our podcast name be?
It is very clever and very original, called The Forecast. We also have another...
I want to just say that I came up with the channel name and also the name for the podcast.
No, actually, that's a lie. I came up with the fucking podcast name. Go fuck yourself. You came up with the channel name, but I dropped the fucking podcast name. Go
You guys
fuck
also-
yourself.
You guys also have your own like movie-based podcast that I can never remember the name of because it's got a
Pass
weird ass,
Terrible friend, bro.
weird ass
Forgetting about
acronym.
This one.
Perseus and Snake watch movies and drink a lot.
Phasmadol.
And that's exactly what you think it sounds like.
We'll also be playing Cadence of Hyrule, the complete edition. After we're done with spooky season, so starting in November, we'll be doing it co-op, and we'll get to explore the DLC, and you'll get to see me actually beat Ganon instead of dying and then drowning in alcohol.
Well,
Begin.
there are worse things to drown in. You could be drowning in, piss.
Piss.
You could be drowning in my semen.
True.
Specifically his.
I would rather die drowning in booze than in your semen.
Well, he does come
Same.
all the time. We established this at the beginning of the podcast.
Way too
so.
much.
Yeah.
And I'm Perseus, the voice of Perseus on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch. I'm a voice actor. My YouTube is where you're going to find my demo reel, as well as some other things whenever I figure out what to do with that. And you
should
can
make a
find me on
cameo.
Twitch. I should make a cameo. You can find me on Twitch at Voice of Perseus as well. That's where I'm streaming whatever game I decide to play. Most recently, it was Phasmophobia, which is what's going up on the FourPlayers YouTube channel. And you can find me on Twitter at Voice of Perseus as well, where I'm mostly tweeting at Boston Market to marry me.
It sounded for a second like you said moist Perseus.
It's
Hold
just
on,
Voice of
let
Perseus
me
and all socials.
reserve that web domain.
Moistperseus.com. .net.com.
It moistperseus.net. It's .com. I have to drink for Homestar Runner references too, I think. I got a compliment on those from the last podcast, though, so we're going to keep the Homestar Runner content here, apparently. I hope they don't sue us.
I don't think they're terribly litigious.
And we were also joined today by Snake's Box.
Yeah, I'm at Snakesbox on Twitter, and I just mooch off of Perseus and Crow's success.
Well, you're always welcome to mooch off of whatever it is that we have that isn't success as well.
Yeah,
Hey, now you have new friends to mooch off of as well.
that's how I get through life. I just mooch off different people. I'm like a leech. Like
A bearded leech.
Yeah, the beard.
oh yeah, it's my personality.
And, of course, my glorious-ish co-host.
Hi, I'm Chris. Please go vote on Dead. Bear with me on this one. This might take me a hot minute. I co-wrote 5 Cataclysms, Core Rules Beta Edition, with my co-author, who you can sometimes hear interrupt this podcast.
It's true. He just comes in the middle and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm talking about the Tabletopic with you," and then he leaves.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. We're like, who invited you? And then we talk about it anyway. So you can pick up that on DriveThruRPG or itch.io under 5 Cataclysms. And we have a bunch of adventures, and they're all broadly compatible with most versions of D&D. Not 4th edition. Seriously, don't try to use them with 4th edition. It won't work. And I'm also wanting to say a very special message of please research the issues and go out and vote if you haven't already, and get your vote out early. Be an informed voter and vote for candidates and like issues in a way that you
Vote the
would
fires out of Colorado.
like. Yeah,
Yes,
get the
vote
fires
for
out
that.
of here.
Vote for fire. I mean, vote against fire.
You bastard! Trying to put me down. All right, and now we come to the ending segment of the podcast where we just talk about inane bullshit until somebody says something hilariously awkward and I cut off the podcast. And everybody's less like, wait, what? He cut off the podcast
Okay,
there?
so if you which book, if you had to pick a book, which book would be drastically improved with vampires? I'm gonna go with the Bible.
Why do I feel like you've been sitting on this question since the beginning of the podcast?
Why do I feel like you've been sitting on this question since like the beginning of the year?
You've just been waiting for the perfect opportunity to ask this question. Your whole life.
That was his New Year's
has
resolution.
come up to this moment.
Just answer the question. If a book had to have vampires, which book would it be?
Let's see. Atlas
Does-
Shrugged. I feel like that would be better with literal bloodsuckers.
Does an issue of Playboy count as a book?
Ooh.
It's technically
Sexy
a periodical.
Yeah, it's like a tabloid, but you know, I'm just anything with pages.
It's just
Excuse me. I read it for the articles. It is not a tabloid, sir.
I'm gonna go with John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. Vampire mice.
Wait, that's not. Wait. Have you read the book?
Yeah, imagine if you just fucking capped Lenny and Lenny got back up and just like.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh my god.
Actually, a lot of classic literature might be, much more interesting with vampires, like Catcher in the Rye, which was just boring as shit the whole way through. Would have been much more interesting if 5 seconds in, the main character was garroted and murdered, and then the book was over.
Yeah.
That would have been way better.
What if
Macbeth.
Moby Dick and the whale is the vampire?
The white whale can only be killed with a silver harpoon.
Hold on, that's werewolf. You're thinking of werewolves now. You fucking heathen.
The white whale can only be killed with a wooden harpoon.
There you go.
But the problem is they break when they're shot.
Yeah. It's
Hand me your wood, Corporal. We need to shoot Moby Dick.
You've gotta,
take my wood.
you've gotta shoot me out of the cannon. I'll stab her myself.
You gotta
Stab her with my own wood.
I'm gonna penetrate that blowhole, I will.
I'm coming, whale.
So I feel like we started this podcast with Crow humping a tree, and now we're ending it trying to rape a whale.